Okay, so sorry to all the Catholic listeners, but we couldn't have 5 episodes about Catholicism without talking about this one.
Okay.
Okay, so priests liked to hang out with children too much.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. I'm trying to say it good view appropriately.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Is that good?
So is that a question or a statement?
Catholic priests loved them some kids a little more than they should have.
Again, is this you want me to respond to this, or is this
so what's up with that? And
Oh, God.
why would anyone want to be Catholic?
Okay. All right. So before I go diving into this,
Yeah.
Okay. Let's be fair across the board.
Okay.
That there have been individuals, whether Catholic or Protestant, who have fallen because of sexual sin.
Nobody talks about the Protestants though.
Okay. Well, and but it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's be fair with it. It's there. And so, but yeah, I think what's happened in the Catholic Church with priests is that, unfortunately, I think the public view is that it was covered up for too long.
Okay.
And so, in other words, when an allegation would come forward, instead of like dismissing that priest or whatever, that priest would be moved to another diocese. And so to get kind of like, all right, yeah, we dealt with it, but there's still, functioning. And so, but there's no way around it. Like it's been a problem.
That was before the internet though, right?
Yeah. When you can just, just move people around and like, yeah, we dealt with it. It's been handled. And so, and it even, you start even hear like you would hear like rumors and stuff like, oh, well, they were moved to another diocese. Like, something came up, and
with a whole new batch of them.
Yeah. And that's the worst part of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like if anything was allowed to be okay. And I'm not saying that it always went all the way to the top. Right. But we obviously know there was scandal. There's been cover up. Like I think that's pretty well documented at this point. And so and I said this in an earlier episode, I think, that there is, and I still believe one of the problems, well, there may be two problems. One is that the Catholic Church, and I think other ministries do this as well. It's not just a Catholic issue. This is a ministry issue across the board. Churches try to save face and try to cover themselves, and so like there was a big accusation against a large ministry in Kansas City and recently, just in the last year, and it's just been awful. But what really has been awful is all that has come out about how long leaders knew and covered things up,
right?
And so that's the problem, right? Like that's the problem is the cover up of it. And so I think in particular in the Catholic Church,
it seems like all of it's a bit of a problem.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. Thank you. Let me rephrase that. Like, obviously the act itself, like that's going without saying that's a problem.
Okay.
But then the cover up is a problem. And I think for the Catholic Church, especially if you believe, like we're the one true church and our teachers in this church are able to, that when they pray over the body or the bread and the wine and it becomes body and blood and, and like we're almost like infallible in that moment, right? The priests are, but they're also
right
doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like that doesn't jive, and I would say the same thing in the charismatic world or the evangelical world or any kind of Protestant world, right? Like, hey, they're up there ministering as senior pastor, but then they're having affairs on the side. Like, what the trash? But obviously this is much worse than like an affair, although it's sexual immorality, sexual sin still. But, anytime there is any type of, sexual immorality and sin done to a minor, that's the most horrific part. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, the cover up obviously is problematic, but then also this is what I do get back to this. Like, I do think that when we're forcing Catholic priests to be celibate and to remain single, in my opinion, This is just me as a Protestant, ignorant guy. I'm thinking this is problematic. Because if I feel called by God to minister, but I'm in the Catholic Church, my only recourse is to be a priest who is single.
Okay.
And I just do not believe that works.
Okay,
in
but
most
why
cases. Why does one lead to the other?
Yeah. No, I get what I mean,
yeah,
it kind of makes sense why one leads to the other, but why would getting married fix that problem?
Right. No, does
that make sense?
Yeah, I do see what you're saying. I think, and I don't know. This is probably where it gets beyond me a little bit.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to talk to like a psychologist about this.
Okay.
Because the reason I say that is because there's something has to be going on psychologically there. Right?
Right.
Like I don't think most people just go, you know what? I'm going to harm a minor.
Yeah.
Right? People don't think that way. But I just wonder when you are trying so desperately to stay away from sex and you can't go have it with an adult, right? Because
okay.
I mean, you can't. You know, if it comes out,
they'll say something.
Yeah, they'll say something.
Okay.
So if it comes out, your career's over.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that's kind of like psychologically, I think it just kind of in the long term can start messing with people.
That is weird that you go into a career and there's only one place that hires your job position.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. And they're with such specific requirements.
Yeah.
And
because you can only be a Catholic priest if you go try to be a Catholic priest. It's not like you could apply somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Like, yeah, if you want to be a priest, if you want to be in ministry, and you're within the Catholic Church, you have to do it as a Catholic, be a priest, but then that part of that requirement is you're not getting married. And so I just think I just wonder if that causes psychological issues down the road, which lead to these kind of acts.
Okay.
Is what I'm getting to.
All right.
And so again, that's just Joseph's own 2 cents. And I do think, I would hope that what we can say is that that's still a small percentage where that's happening
in the
Catholic Church, and not just a widespread happening just all over the place everywhere situation. Just like I'd want to say that is the same case in the evangelical world or the Protestant world with sexual morality as well.